want this, I'm extremely humble that I have everyone that came here. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, I'm going to provide some information that will make you guys money.
Yes.
Last night I was working on what I would say to this class. I'm like, what is something I would pay for on a class? What's something I would value getting that information on? So my whole thing is, I want to give people what a mindset is of a top producing agent, how you should think, and kind of what I use to motivate myself. So I'm just going to go ahead and start. Is that right?
Yes. Can we say standing room only? This is amazing. There's another chair over there in the corner over here. You guys, this is Diego. Let's start off by that, right?
Yep.
So Diego has been with KW for how long?
I don't know, a long time.
Yeah. And then
Like
I would
over
say
a decade.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Before you were here.
No. I brought you guys back.
You brought us back, but yeah,
Okay.
I was with KW,
I brought them.
left, came back.
Yeah, and came back, right? You saw the value.
Yeah.
But before you were at like a company that you just paid monthly and that's it, or?
It was like a
per
flat fee
transaction?
per transaction.
Yeah. So you saw the value of being worldwide. I'm trying to remember this conversation. This is like years ago. KW was worldwide and we had a different type of a platform and you wanted to be able to hit the different offices. And where you were at, you weren't able to do all that.
That's right, yeah. It's just the marketing power, the name behind Keller Williams. The company before it was Tefeco, by the way, which is no longer around.
Oh, imagine that, just saying, go ahead.
We'd say, hey, I'm with Tefeco, and they'd be like, who else is Tefeco?
Yeah, is that like a tile company?
Yeah, and then we'd have to, that's another hurdle we'd have to overcome. So we're
Right.
trying to limit the amount of hurdles you want to go
Right.
next.
Right. Well, I'm proud that you're here and you're taking the time out of your busy day and your busy schedule with your team to teach us more knowledge. So have some fun, my friend.
Okay, so today I want to teach mindset of a top producing agent. Things that work for other agents are going to be way different than they work for me. So I want to start with a story. This is a sports related story because that's how I'm motivated. So in 1990, the heavyweight champion of the world was Mike Tyson. He was devastating. He was, not only was he undefeated, he was beating people an average of 2 minutes or less. And that's, for boxing, that's unheard of. He was a really, really good boxing, and he's one of the greatest of all times. So he had a fight coming up. He was going to fight Evander Holyfield. Before the fight happened, Evander Holyfield actually got hurt in his training camp. So they had to bring in someone just out of the blue. His name was Buster Douglas. Does anyone know what Buster Douglas is? Okay, Buster Douglas, he at that point, he won like 7 fights. He wasn't even the first contender or the second. He was probably around the 10th contender. Tyson was such a huge favorite. It was 42-1. 42-1. So Buster Douglas is a 42-1 underdog, which is insanely huge. It's almost a guarantee win. There was fortunes that were lost that night because of how big of a underdog Buster Douglas was. Buster Douglas got the fight, told his mom, and his mom worked at a beauty salon and literally told everyone, hey, my son's going to knock out Mike Tyson. Buster Douglas himself was like, Mom, this is Mike Tyson. I shouldn't even have this fight. Well, 2 days before the fight, Buster Douglas's mom died. 2 days before. And he actually thought about, should I still do this fight? Yes. His family convinced him your mom would want you to take this opportunity no matter what. It was for the title belt, regardless how big of an underdog he was. This was supposed to be just a warm-up fight for Tyson. Prior to this, last person he fought was less than a minute in the ring. So the fight goes on, and the second round, Buster Douglas gets knocked out. He gets uppercutted with a Tyson punch. I don't know if you've ever seen Tyson punch, but nobody has ever gone up to that point from a uppercut from Mike Tyson. This is Tyson at his absolute prime. He got knocked down. And some people may say he barely made it. Tyson thinks he went past the 10, but he got up literally at the nick of time. So it went down to the 10 count. He got up, the bell saved him. His trainer at the time said, "Hey, are you sure you want to go out there?" Because he just got knocked out. And he says, "Yeah, I'm going to go. I got it." Everyone expected the next round for him to be knocked out by Tyson. Well, he didn't get knocked out. He went to the 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. At this point, everyone that has millions of dollars on Tyson is getting nervous. Buster Douglas went to the 10th round, and then the unthinkable happened. He knocked out Mike Tyson, a 42-1 underdog. It was unheard of. This is the first time. This was the best boxer. They were already claiming Mike Tyson to be the best heavyweight of all time by this point. He actually knocked down Mike Tyson. And the thing that they asked him how he did it, he said that I wanted to prove that my mom was right. I wanted to show her that she believed in me more than I believed myself. Well, this story is about resilience. And I tell this story is, as someone who worked with sellers and buyers, you have to have major resilience in what we do. You have to be able to take uppercut, knockouts, punches to the head emotionally. We go through those all the time. There was a story during COVID. Michele, do you remember this when I told you how many deals I had fall apart during COVID?
Oh, yeah, that was like when we had to have it sit down, like, really, Jesus, you got this.
I had, I think it was I'm probably gonna understate it or overstate it, but I had 5 or 6 deals that fell out right when COVID hit, that same month. And that was devastating. That was a punch, that was an uppercut punch from Tyson for me, emotionally. I was able to get past that, and I had one of the best years. That COVID year was one of the best years of my life. But we talk about resilience. Buster Douglas's big why was he was gonna, no matter what Tyson brought to him, he was gonna get up. Well, he was the first person to ever get up. And what they found with Tyson is if you got him past the 5th and 6th round, he didn't have quite the stamina to need it. And that's every boxer that fought Tyson then knew that they just needed to outlast Tyson. Well, sometimes you just need to outlast yourself, right? We're gonna have tons of failures in order for us to get up. I don't know how many times where I had listing appointments where I thought I had the deal that I didn't get the deal. Well, I use those to find out, okay, what could I have done better? What should I do next time to get that listing appointment? Or maybe I didn't ask for the sale more than once. I should have asked for it 3 times. I limited myself. So I want everyone to have a mindset of resilience. So what's resilience? Getting back up. Your ability to get back up from a loss. Well, what we do requires us to have alligator skin. So I was related to baseball, but it's even worse than baseball. In baseball, if you struck out 7 out of 10 times, you're still one of the greatest. If you hit 3 out of those 10, you're considered one of the greatest of all time. Well, in our business, if we get 1 out of the 10 listings and we have 30 listing appointments, we're going to be the top listing agent in our market. So it's very similar to that. Now, it's okay to fail. It's okay not to know the answer, but it's our resilience of being able to go after that no matter what. I had an agent that is a friend of mine. He's all, I'm going against this agent. I'm like, who cares who that particular agent is? Do you know this area better? Do you sell more in this area? It doesn't matter who you're going against, right? It matters how good and how confident you are in yourself. So I wanted to talk a lot about our mindset because our mindset is very limiting. We might be saying, well, the market's crap or the market's too good. I've heard it both ways. I've heard when COVID happened, let's say a year ago, well, there's too many offers on this house, right? And now it's, well, there's not enough houses on the market. Oh, the interest rates are too high. Well, there's still people who are top performing regardless of those ups and downs. Regardless of those, our limited beliefs, we shouldn't be limited by that. I remember when I was younger, I'd blame I'm too young. Everyone looks at me and because I started when I was really young in real estate. And my limited belief was, well, they're gonna go with the older, more experienced agent, right? Nobody cares how long you've been doing it for. And my 17 years of doing real estate, you know how many times I've heard people say, well, how long have you been in real estate? I've never had one seller ask me that question. I wanted to, now I want them to, right? They still haven't asked me that question. So are they gonna ask you that question? If they ask me that question is, when I was younger, I'd say, well, I've been doing it for this year, but my team has been doing it for this many years. And we do this many transactions. I always had a automatic generated response or a script that was ready for that answer. But I yet to have someone ask me that question. So today I want us to think about, so a couple different things. So one is, where do we find some deals that other people are not finding? Well, let's start off with who's worked a buyer? Raise your hand. This in the last year, who's worked a buyer? Did you market your buyer to other potential sellers? Probably not. I do. So let me give you an example. You sold address. These are make a nice little house. I'm a very visual person. We sold 123 Main Street. That's our famous house that we always use. We sold 123 Main Street. Well, I'm going to send postcards to everyone in that neighborhood and say, hey, I sold 123 Main Street. Guess what? I did, right? I didn't list it, but I had a buyer for it. Do I have another buyer for another house? Of course, I can find another buyer for that. We miss an opportunity because we don't realize that, because we limit our beliefs. So when I sell that house on Main Street, I'm going to market that exact area. I'm going to door knock that area and say, hey, I just sold my buyer this house on this street. Do you have another house coming up? This is a hot area. Okay, so here's one opportunity you guys have. So anyone that sold the house, you should have been farming that area. You should have been marketing that area. You should have been sending postcards to that area. If you don't have the funds, guess what? You can door knock 100 properties within a couple hours. All right, you can hand out flyers that you print out from this office. All right, I always want the highest return with the least amount into it. All right, we don't do this because we're afraid. Who cares if you fail? The worst thing that someone can do is you knock on the door and they say, I'm an agent. I don't want to sell my house. Slam door. Who cares? That's not the right person we're supposed to talk to. The person we talk to is, hey, we just sold the house. We give them our flyer, and they're like, you know, we thought about selling also. You just sold the house? Oh, that's great. And you're like, yeah, they're the Smith buyers that they're moving into it, right? And now you have rapport with them. And then the process, when you talk to the right person, the process is so easy. They're like, yeah, well, when can we meet? What do you think our home is worth? And it just goes down the line, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is way easier than I thought. The buyer the seller that is, no, you know, we want $1 million for it, and you're in a neighborhood that's 400,000, right? That's not the one you want to talk to anyways, right? So don't stress about people that are not the right people for you to talk to. Okay, so here's a buyer that we just did. Okay, how many of you sold a seller? How many of you sold a listing? Okay, so most of you, right? Did you market it this way as well? And if you didn't, you guys are costing yourself money. The worst thing is when the neighbor lists their house 3 weeks later. How many people have had that happen? And you just kick yourself in the foot, like, oh, I could have door knocked them. I had an opportunity. Matter of fact, they were neighbors to my clients. My clients would have gave them my great feedback, and I just missed an opportunity. What the science behind this is, when someone lists a property, they start thinking about selling, right? It's a natural thing, and that's why you have houses will have bunches, right? You'll see a street, and you're like, oh, there's another house on the street. Well, that's a coincidence. No, it isn't. It's happened for years. That's always been the case. It happens for years. You don't necessarily want to. You're not trying to force a sale. A sale will happen no matter what. And you want to be on that table with them, talking to them about the property. Yeah, if they have another listing agent or someone they worked in the past, so that's great. But you sold a house in that neighborhood. you have a right to that table as well. Okay, so we're talking about selling. The thing I always see that I don't get is agents are willing to market themselves like, hey, I did this inspection, or my client painted this house this color, but they're not focusing on the actual things that people care about: selling the house, finding a home. Right? Inspections are great to fill up your social media, but you want to market the most things that are the most powerful. That's selling or buying. They want to know, especially there's a market 3 months ago where everything was taking a long time to sell. One of the things I focused, I think I had an ad that, hey, we sold this house in 21 days. Well, in a market of last year, that meant nothing. In the market in November, that was amazing because nobody else was selling. So I marketed 21 days. I was able to get a seller lead from marketing that. They were excited about that. All right, so we talked about sellers listings. We talked about marketing our listings. We talked about talking to neighbors. How much does it cost you to print out flyers?
Nothing, it was here.
Well,
It costs you your time.
yes.
That's where the paper isn't anything. It costs you your time. Well, if you're going to do inspections that day on your selling listing, you can piggyback that and do it at the same time. I most of the time try to do it so if I'm having some type of inspection, well, my home inspector takes 2 to 3 hours. I could be door knocking the whole area, and by the time I get back, my home inspector can go through the last things on that property. I'll have plenty of time to do that. Okay, I want to talk about one of the mindsets I have is there's always a deal, there's always opportunity. We drive around more than some taxi services do, right? Everyone drives around all the time. If you see a house that has a moving truck, that's probably a good opportunity to at least give them your card, right? Most people are not going to have, they're not going to have the confidence to randomly approach someone with a moving truck.
Or a garbage bin in front.
Yeah, or giant garbage bin, you see them, or the thing I love that I've gotten deals from is I see the paint guy starting to remodel. I'll go to them and say, hey, I love that paint color you have. Are you thinking about selling your house? And they'll go, yeah. That's how I'd love to. I go for the listing presentation right there. I'd love to meet with you and see what we can do for you. Right? We drive by those properties and we don't even think about that. We see opportunities where we don't jump on. And what I want is you're going to have that confidence to stop and give them your card. The worst thing is I remember I've made a lot of mistakes from what I've learned from. I remember there was a house being remodeled right across the street from us. And I'm like, I'm an idiot for not ever contacting them. They were remodeling the house for 3 months. And then then I saw a couple agents show up. I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have been one of those people to go there. Let's talk about evictions. So has anyone ever seen what a full-blown eviction is? Well, one of the parts of eviction is you see a sheriff office post their notice once the tenants are out. If a landlord has gone through a full-blown sheriff's eviction where the sheriff had to go back, do you think they want to rent again? Why is that? It's very expensive, especially when you had the whole process is very expensive. They probably went out without a tenant check for at least 3 to 6 months. Their house needs to be completely updated. We're talking, it's usually paint, carpet, tile, everything. Fence has to be replaced. The yard's dead now, and they're talking $20,000 out. Is that a good time for someone to think about selling their house? I've seen houses where the house is brand new. They rented the house out. Six months later, the tenants they stopped paying. And by the time that they evicted the tenant, the house needed a full-blown rehab. And the owners were devastated on what the condition and all the costs. For us, that's a great time for us to be trying to talk to them to see if that's a thing that might make sense, especially if the market's gone up. I remember everyone was worried about well, are we gonna see foreclosures again? I don't see it happen for a long, long time. Our market right now is very low in inventory, extremely low. Does everyone have buyers that don't have houses on market? Well, if you bought a house within the last 2 years, every single person that bought 2 years or later has massive equity. I don't see that happening. And what's harder about it is I see that, if you got a 3% loan, it's gonna be hard for you to sell, right? That's what's limiting our inventory now. So I don't see evictions happening for a while, but I do see buyer's demand going up. So one of the things that I see as an opportunity is you have a buyer that wants a particular neighborhood. What do? You just wait for the house to come on the market? What do?
Door knock.
You find your own listings. So I'm gonna give you one. So I had a year where I did 10 of these. Okay, so we're gonna talk about for sale by owners. The easiest way to get a for sale by owner is if you have a buyer for that house. So you see a for sale by owner and it happens to be an area that you want. What do? Rob, what do?
When your buyer's looking for a home for sale?
Buyers looking for, so let's say you have a house in Edgewood. You have a buyer for Edgewood house and you see it for sale by owner there, that'd be perfect for them.
Call the sell by owner, knock on their door.
You don't even have to knock on their door. They want to hear from you, but they've heard from other agents. They're like, yeah, I'll find you a buyer, right? It's different than you say, I have a pre-approved buyer for 600,000 that's looking for a 4-bedroom. By the way, do you have a pool? You already know they have a pool, but you're gonna ask them that question anyways. And they say, yes, we have a pool. We paid $80,000 for it. You're like, wow, that's fantastic. I have a buyer for that. If I'm able to, if it makes sense, would you consider giving me a commission? Now, does it matter what you charge? Can you charge them 4% for a buyer inside if you wanted to?
Yeah.
Okay, we're afraid of that. If we charge them 4.5% for a buy inside, does that, Barbara, can we charge 4.5% on the buy inside commission?
Yeah.
I call you because you're one of the best authorities I know on this type of thing. It doesn't matter, right? Would a 4.5% be a great commission from the buying side? Yes. And to be honest, even if you just work with them on the buying side as the buyer's agent, you're still pretty much helping them do all the paperwork involved to do a regular seller. They say they can do it themselves, but you're still going to have to assist them through, here's a TDS, here's the forms that are required. So you're basically still acting quasi as a listing agent. But we don't think that way. We think that when you're looking for a property for a buyer, you're also looking for a commission. On this, if it's not listed, you could be that person that helps them. So I had a year where I did 4 or 5 of those, just that way. I had a buyer for it. I saw it for sale by owner. I had the right buyer for it. I showed him the buyer of the property, got a commission check out of it, and got above a 2.5% commission because the seller didn't care. And most of their circumstance, I got my buyers a great deal. So I had one I can think off the top of my head. It was in Weston Ranch. Their market was going for like 330 at the time. I got them something for 300,000, and I got a commission check out of it. That same buyer referred me to another person, and I ended up getting another check from him. But if I limit myself from not looking at for sale by owners, all right. So let's talk about what do you find for sale by owners? Okay, Zillow's one. You can actually search by for sale by owners or in Zillow. Okay, driving by, you can find it that way. You could also find it on Craigslist, right? Believe it or not, Facebook Marketplace will have for sale by owners. There's a for sale by owner website, Help You Sell. They post their stuff that is for sale by owner. And a lot of times they say there's no commission, but if you ask for it, surprisingly, they'll accept it almost every time. So that's another good way for sale by owner. Another one that I see is a great opportunity is people looking to rent their properties. So you're looking for that buyer, we're just go with the Edgewood buyer. And there's a house that's been for rent for 8 months on it in Edgewood, and he hasn't been able to rent it. And you have a buyer for that exact house. How do you approach it?
Call the number.
And what do you say? Perfect. That's the first step.
I saw your house was for rent for a few weeks or a few months. Have a buyer in your neighborhood. Have you thought about selling your own?
You know, I wanted to rent it out, but I just haven't found the right person. I just don't want my house to be trashed, right? So I'm making sure, trying to find that perfect person. I just can't seem to find that.
Well, I can understand that, Diego. However, how long has your house been for rent?
It's been 6 months.
How many rent payments, how many mortgage payments have you?
I had to make 6 payments,
Okay, how much was that?
around 20,000.
Okay, how much are you willing to spend to keep it up for rent?
You know, I not much longer. If I don't get someone else, I'm gonna have to probably sell it.
Okay, so when that day comes, will you keep my number and give me a call when you're ready, or I can follow up with you?
No.
How come?
You ask for the sale.
Yeah.
I have a buyer right now. I usually charge 6%. I'll do it for 4.5%.
Okay, so lead with that.
Yes,
Okay,
and you're getting 4.5% on the buying side, or 4%. That's still less than they did 6%. Sorry, this thing's wobbly. So that's something that we don't consider. And guess what? There's a million properties that are being rented out.
so do you put in the listing agreement, do you put 0% on the listing side and 4.5 on the?
I'm
buyer?
not even
Or you
representing them.
split it?
No, all I'm doing is doing a buyer's commission agreement.
Oh, okay.
That's it.
You're not listing the property.
No, I'm gonna have to make sure that Autumn, my TC, is gonna give them all the paperwork that they need to fill out that's required. Matter of fact, she's a lot better than I am at figuring out what that is. But it's transfer disclosure statement, NHD, and some other documents.
You
Right.
still have to do everything.
Yeah, we're pretty much still doing everything. We're not technically representing, but we still gonna
How
have
often
to.
do you double in the deal?
Almost every time it's a for sale by owner.
Well, that's what I'm saying, how often do you double in a deal in the traditional sense by luck?
Not as often.
Yeah.
You had a question?
Yeah, what is the document again, if it's a for sale by owner and you're representing the buyer, but you want to make sure you get permission?
Buyer's commission agreement, is that right? Sorry, Barbara, you're my the call from,
And you want to.
Who wants to be a millionaire?
And you want to have that signed before you take that buyer to the
absolutely.
house. They're
Yep.
agreeing to pay you if you have the buyer that will buy that. Don't just take the buyer there.
But it's just for that person, it's not for another.
Right, it's for one person.
Okay, so everyone has buyers, right? If I was, and I have this scenario happen, is if I have a buyer that I can't find a house for, I'm gonna look to see every single house that's rented in that same, is for rent, in that same area that my buyer would be interested in. And I would hit them up no matter what. If it's at 1 out of 20, who cares? If I hit that 20, it's a home run for me. Right? And we probably don't do that at a natural basis, but I want you guys to think in the mindset. Go ahead.
If you don't have that number, or you can't find it, where would you find that number?
I'm gonna act like a crazy boyfriend and I'm gonna cyber stalk them. I'm gonna try to Facebook, I'm gonna Instagram, I'm gonna knock on their door, leave a note on their car, whatever it takes. Right? Because that one note could be worth $10,000 commission check. Right? That's how I think about it. That one call could be a $10,000 commission check. So why wouldn't I want to make it?
I park right in front of their house, right, until they come back.
I've, in order to get phone numbers, I've had a house where it's been vacant and I have a buyer for the house. The house has been vacant for a couple of months. Who do you talk to? Who'd possibly have their phone number?
Neighbors, maybe.
Boom, neighbors. Neighbors on the right and left are the most likely because if emergency happens or if they need their trash pulled out, they usually keep their number for that. So I'd say probably 50% of the time the neighbor will have a phone number. And I'll say, hey, I'm a realtor. I wanted to talk to a person that owned that house. You happen to have her number? Give them my card. Okay, you're not a stalker. Okay. And they usually give you the phone number. Right, so we have to be a lot more aggressive. There's a lot less inventory now. We have to think of other things. Okay, let me throw another one at you. All right, we still have that same buyer we can't get a house for. We tried the for sale by owner. We tried all the for sale by owner websites. We tried the rental. Let me give you one other thing. A year ago, in that same exact neighborhood, there was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a car, had a pool with RV access. It was a perfect house for your buyer, but it didn't sell at that time. It was a year and a half ago. You look at all the past houses that didn't sell, and guess what? That one would have been perfect for you. What do you do?
Contact the owners.
You contact the owners. Why would you want to contact them?
That is the thing.
Do you lose anything by contacting them? What's the worst thing that could happen?
They know they're not wanting to sell.
But our natural instinct is we want a step away from pain. Right? And there's a pain of someone saying, how dare you call me right now at 10 o'clock in the morning and ask if I want to sell my house? How dare you do that? Or you want the mindset of, I need to get this family into a nice neighborhood. I need to get them into a house that makes sense for them. So I'm gonna make this call, even though it's painful for me. I'm gonna make this call because of a slight chance of it working out. So there's a person in our office that specializes in doing this. I think most of you guys know Sheila. If you're welcome to talk to her, but I think she's got like 10 plus deals this way. She had a buyer for something, she contacted an expired listing that didn't sell, and she ended up getting them in contract. All right, I've done it a couple times, but there's actually agents that specialize in just doing that. So we talked about,
They spend all their time just doing that.
yes, that's all they do.
And she was our rookie of the year, you guys, a couple years ago.
She was Sheila Chan.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And what you focus on expands. So if you're good at that, stick with it and be consistent.
she was probably like she door knocked insanely amount. When she first started, she just door knocked insane amount. And I was always really impressed by anyone that can do that because it takes a lot of perseverance and patience and getting doors slammed in your face. But your mindset has to be stronger than that. So let's talk about mindset. I think it's important. So one of my goals this beginning of this year, like everyone else, was I want to lose some weight beginning of this year. And so I read this book. I'll share it when I look at my Audible account. But it was about getting decisions to stick. So if you think to yourself, I'm going to lose weight, so I want to lose weight so I can lose a couple of pounds, right? That's not strong enough. Why? You won't succeed by doing that. So so I've developed my head, I'm losing weight so I have more energy for my kids. Now, is that a lot stronger of a conviction? When I'm working out, I'm like, I should probably try to do one more rep. Do I think I want to lose a couple more pounds? Is that going to get me over? And no, it's not. So same thing with phone calls. Are you making calls so you can make money? Does that motivate people? No, it doesn't. Everyone says money motivates them. Barbara, when all you're coaching people, how much time does money actually work for them?
We're helping people.
No, when you're coaching agents, is money a motivator?
No.
It's not a great motivator. It's got to be a bigger reason. So when I worked out, I want to have more energy for my kids. When you're making that extra call, what's your big why?
What's yours?
Mine is I want to give my family an unfair advantage in life. I want to give my kids an unfair advantage. When I was 16, it was like 95 to show my age. When I took all the honor classes, I was in AP, English, history, everything. I went full AP. And all my instructors at the time, I had to type everything out for all my essays. And I didn't have a computer at home. In 95, computers were really expensive. It was like, I don't know, $4,000 or $5,000 for like a good computer. It wasn't something you could pick up for $300. It was a few $1,000s my family didn't have. So I had to go to the library after school, every day after school, I would have some type of paper I needed to start writing. So I'd go to the library, and the library was open for about an hour and a half after school ended. So I was like, in my head is like, I never want my kids to be in that situation where they have to do things like that. All right, so if they need a computer, no problem, I can afford that. Zig Ziglar, is everyone familiar with Zig Ziglar? He's one of my favorite writers. He talks about going to a grocery store, and forgive me if you already heard this story, but it was so powerful to me. He goes to a grocery store and he has a big interview for a company he's going to work for. He's unemployed at that time. So he buys some baby formula, he buys some diapers, he buys some razor blades for himself, and then he gets some, not leggings, what are those called?
Pantyhose.
Pantyhose. All right, so this is, Zig Ziglar's old. So this is probably like early 80s. And in the 80s, pretty much every woman wore pantyhose. That was like the go-to style. So he checks out and it's like $23. And he literally has $20 to his name. So a wife says, don't worry about it. I can get these pantyhose later, some other time. And as she's walking back to take the pantyhose away, she sees that her pantyhose have a bunch of tears on them. And at that moment, he says, I'm never going to be in a financial situation where my wife can't afford a pantyhose. Now, this same guy became one of the most successful insurance salesmen of all time. He was making $1 million a year back in the 80s selling insurance. So can you imagine how many policies that was to make that? So we have to have a big why, otherwise you're not going to motivate yourself to get to that point. All right, so I'm still going all the other ways that most people don't think about. How many times do you talk to someone and you get the "oh you did" call, "oh you did" response? You guys know what "oh you did" response is? Who said that? Go ahead, say it again.
That's funny. I never heard that.
Oh, I didn't know you did real estate. My sister just had a house. Every single person that you know or knows you, their cousin should know, their dog should know that you do real estate. Anytime someone sells their house in your circle of friends that didn't at least approach you or you didn't know about it, you need to like do a push-up or something, punish yourself with. Right? The excuse of them not knowing that you do real estate is insane to me. There's agents that don't let everyone in their circle know. They don't know that they're an agent. Who's guilty of that? Just me?
Yeah, it was.
We hear that, we actually hear that a lot from agents that they don't want to tell people that they tell.
I've experienced that, and it's because you don't want. I think part of it is and what we do. What's the dropout rate here in real estate? It's insane, right?
80%.
For 2 years.
It's even getting worse right now just because of the mindset.
So I think it's over 80%. So a lot of people that are in real estate, they don't want to tell people until they know they're going to be successful. Right, you got to be exactly. So one of Columbus's first voyage to America, you know what he did famously?
Wrong way.
No, he probably did that too. Yeah, he did. He was supposed to end up in India, but he ended up in America. So he burned the ships. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
Yes, he burned the Bonita, the Santa Maria, and the Pinta. Yeah. All right, so he burned all those ships. And the reason why is it's like, we're going to be here, right? So we're going to be here long enough that we have to build another ship to get out of here, right? There was no excuse. There's no way for them not to succeed because there was no way back. Well, real estate's the same way. If you're in it, you got to be in it. You can't be anything lukewarm. People spit out of your mouth. If you ever tried. Actually, let me give you an example. I went to about a year ago. I was looking for cars, and the car market was insane. I remember seeing the salesperson. We're looking at an SUV, and he was pretty lukewarm about the SUV he was trying to sell. How excited do you think I was? I wasn't. I was like, well, you know, this car has this, but you know, if you wanted something bigger and he was trying to sell me to other car, I eventually just said, oh, forget it. Right, this car, you know, I thought I wanted it, but you talked me out of it. We can talk the seller out of using you very easy. If you're lukewarm about yourself, you can imagine what the seller thinks. Yeah, I guess I could list your house. You know, I think we probably could get this amount. I think a lot of it has, what did it say? Like your characteristics of your actual emotions and how you look. Your body, there you go. Your body language, I forgot the word body language. Your body language has a lot to do with how you think. So we're talking to the seller and we don't feel confident in what we're doing, the seller's not going to feel confident in you. And it could be, you could be saying everything correct. All right, so let's get into some of this.
I think it's important to say too, that your coaches, your sphere of influence can't want it more than you. You've got to have that passion that you see right here in front of you in order to succeed in this business. You have to show up. You have to be present.
So let me you just made me think of something.
Good.
I am not the best buyer's agent. I admit that. Why am I not the best buyer's agent?
Because you surround yourself with other buyer agents that are there.
I have other buyer's agents work for, it's really, I really don't have the time to work with someone that barely qualifies. I get to be picky at this point. So I want someone that's already fully qualified. They have a ton down and the price point they're at is great. Most top busy agents rarely work with buyers. So would you be a lot better than, say, the top agent in Tracy that ends with Clem? How good of a buyer's agent is he going to be?
No patience.
He has no time for buyers. He'll either refer it, but if they want to work with him, right, they have to be ready to write an offer at what he says. Like he gets to really cherry pick what he wants in an agent. If you're a buyer, is that the best person for you to work with? Probably not. So if you have time to show people houses, you have time, you're going to work that extra mile, try and find properties off market, then you're going to be a much better buyer agent than 90% of listing agents out there. Just from the mere aspect of time.
We did 150 last year.
150 listings?
Yeah, closed, yeah.
Yeah, how many of those are buyers? Probably zero. Right, so you can hit the top agent that sold 150 houses as a buyer's agent all day long. You can run circles around him. Is he going to show up tomorrow, right, and show a house and then the next day show the same buyer at another house? Probably not. We'll show him probably his own listings. We don't think about that level of we think, oh, he's a better top producing agent. Yeah, but not as a buyer's agent. And sometimes you're going to be a better listing agent because you know more about that neighborhood. You have buyers ready to buy that house. Okay, so let's talk. Actually, let me go into another thing is open houses. What's your main goal at an open house?
Sell the house.
No,
No,
wrong.
buyer leads.
The main goal is to sell the house. It's,
What's your main goal? It's not your listing.
No.
oh no, okay.
It's not your listing. What's your main goal at open house?
Get leads.
Get leads. The general goal is to get leads, yes, buyer leads.
Open houses are like the Ross of real estate. So let me explain myself. When you go to Ross, are you looking for the cheap items or are you looking for like those gold nuggets? You're like, oh, these designer jeans at $20, right? And you might go through the whole store and you find one thing that actually makes sense for you, but you have to work for it, right? That's the same thing with working open houses. You're there to find buyers and you're also there to find sellers. How many people have had the nosy neighbor come to their open house? Okay. When I get the nosy neighbor, I go full court press, right? I'm giving them hey, thank you so much for coming. I'm glad you're the nosy neighbor. Let me tell you what we did marketing wise for this. Absolutely. Actually, I usually make a joke. right? I usually make the joke, if I don't know that they're the neighbors, I'll be like, this is the house for you. You ready to buy? Right? I'll say some outlandish remark, and then people usually get a small chuckle. I've been doing that, and it's such a corny joke, but it works. It's a little icebreaker. Right? I'll say, this is it. This is the one house that you're here for. Right? People usually laugh, and I've done that joke forever, but it's the perfect icebreaker. Well, that neighbor comes through. Why are they coming in an open house? They're curious. It's another thing. Someone else.
Family member.
They're thinking about selling. They have in the back of their head. Would it make sense if they had a 50% chance to sell within the year? Would you get all their info every single time?
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much reality, right? Those nosy neighbors, yeah, they want to know what their house is worth, right? Offer them a free consultation. Offer them. I don't care. Well, we're not ready to sell. No worries. I want to show you what we offer. I had a property where a nosy neighbor came in, and they didn't use me to buy a house, but they referred me to someone else. And I was shocked by that. I'm like, wow. Well, I had nothing better to do, right? But to give them great service when they went to the open house. It blows me away when I go to the open house and the agent doesn't even say a word to me. I'll walk in and say, hey, how's it going? Right? And they know I'm an agent. I'm Diego with Keller Williams, and then they stop talking to me. That just blows me away. Whoever comes to your open house, pretend that's a listing appointment, pretend it's a buyer consultation, right? It's you get a free shot at that particular person. So that nosy buyer was so impressed by how we did the open houses that their sister-in-law was an agent, so she had to use their agent, but she referred me someone else completely because how impressed she was at our open house. And so I'll go and say, hey, do you see our photos that we put on? We have professional photographers that do it. I always pay for a professional house cleaning on every single one of my listings. Why would I do that?
You want it to be perfect.
Yeah, your service.
Well, it's kind of like Coca-Cola. You ever had RC Cola? Anyone ever drink RC Cola?
Mhm.
It's like the generic version of Coca-Cola. It sucks. Right? So my listings have a name brand to them. Right? When someone knows that my listing, they know that it's going to be clean. They know that it's going to be great condition. There's not going to be missing doorknobs in it. They know that my sellers will put away all their stuff. It's a consistent brand. So I have buyer's agents that they already know this. Oh, yeah, I already know your listings. They're going to be great. They're not going to show up and there's a giant hole in the carpet, right? There's not going to be big obvious mistakes. So you help create your brand. Even though you don't think you have one, you have one. Okay, so open houses, nosy neighbors, I've gotten listings from them. So anytime you get a neighbor that comes in, give them your best version of yourself. Same with other agents. It's such a small world. Treat everyone nice. When I've noticed that I had a buyer's agent that I worked with in the past, and he was super nice to me, and I was nice to him, like I'm nice to everybody. And then when he got a listing, he was a complete asshole. And I was like, dude, we just did a deal, man. And the guy didn't return. So I was trying to get into one of his houses. I'm not going to name names, but I was trying to get one of his houses and couldn't get a home for like 2 days. Then I'm like, all right, I'm just going to blow up his phone because there's no MLS box. The only way I can get in is by getting his freaking combo code. And I've already texted him before asking for the combo code, still didn't get it. So I blew him up a couple of times and finally got him to respond. He was like, dude, you're blowing up my phone. I'm like, I wouldn't blow it up if I didn't have your combo. So as a buyer's agent, he was great and nice and kind. As a listing agent, not only was it difficult, but if you can't get a hold of a listing agent, is he really helping a seller out?
No. Can you imagine what it would be in a transaction?
Oh, it would be, it'd be a nightmare.
Oh.
So I finally got in and we sent an offer in and we got no response for about a week. And then we finally got a response another week later, and I hear that he double ended it.
Of course
That's
he did.
why. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yes. So who knows, right? But it's just a small world, and Am I gonna be an asshole to them next time? Probably not, right? But I'm a lot more guarded this time around, right? It's such a small world. Be nice to everybody. You'll always get it back. All right, so we talked about open houses. So what's some of our other goals to do open house?
Sign, I do a kiosk with my iPad, an automated sign.
Great, I like that idea. It allows you to capture people's information a lot easier.
Captures their attention too.
So the newest thing that we're doing is we're doing QR codes. So we have two different QR codes that I think everyone should add, no matter what. One of them is a QR code that all it does, it calls your phone number. So for open house signs, I'll put that QR code there, especially for condos or gated communities where they have to get a code. They can just scan that and automatically goes to your cell phone. The other one is for disclosures. We have them on the table, QR code that goes, we use Disclosure.io, automatically takes them to our disclosures.
Where do you get your QR codes?
There's a bunch of different sites that'll do it.
Google it.
Yeah,
Yes, right?
yep,
That's what Tom Ferry says.
Yep.
Google that.
yep.
Excellent.
So QR codes are great, right? So, you know, before we'd have all the disclosures right there, and agents are on top of like P-bill over here. He would have the termite report and everything. We don't do that anymore. So right now, like we do most of our listings, I'd say probably 90%, we have all the disclosures already done for it. So they can do that and just they can use their phone and get all the disclosures. Also, we can get their contact info very easy using the QR code as well.
And
Which application that you connect to the QR code that captures their cell phone?
So it's if you guys send me an email, Keone's the one that set it up for us on our team. Keone, he knows how to do it pretty well. So that's something that works for us. Captures. I like yours as well. Doing the little iPad.
Spacio, it's $25 a month.
Okay.
It's offered through Cloud CMA. I got an ad for it. I'm like, oh, shoot, $25 a month. That's a small price to pay to capture people's info. So I'm not running around with a pad, whatever. No
Then
pad.
what did you call it?
Spacio is the app. It's really easy to handle. You can upload the picture on it. It looks nice, and then it sends automated emails. And even I have a database to text them like a certain amount of time after they leave that. So that way I'm not scrambling to get home and making my follow-up endless drip emails and all that stuff.
So we use a program for our team called Real.
Amanda does the same thing, and so we all know, and it's not.
Really? Oh, no, I'm privy to that. I'm all about saving money. I'm gonna
Yeah,
do it
so
later.
what I can do is schedule an appointment with you and
Okay.
Arthur or even Zach.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
There you go. Okay.
What?
So
Okay.
With that,
Oh.
Zach and,
Yeah.
yeah, with Arthur.
Yes.
So
All right.
we use a
Right, that's
program-
what I was thinking.
So we use a program called Real Scout. Any email that we have, we automatically will send them emails. We've gotten deals where they've been on Real Scout for like 8 months. We don't hear from it, and they automatically set an appointment up on a property. We show them that property and gotten a deal from
What
it.
is
And
it?
Real Scout,
And that's another like,
it's a drip campaign.
it's a just
So
like
it's,
a mail. Okay.
yeah.
Which?
You told me about it 2 years ago. I looked at it.
So Real Scout's great. Shoot, I'm running out of time. I didn't realize
No,
that.
take your time, it's good.
I'm asking a lot of questions.
No, keep going. Don't you guys?
I believe they go on comperry.com or whatever.
Yeah,
Diego, are we gonna get that?
You
That,
can
Uh,
get it, you can sign up for it.
Okay.
Michelle will send out to anyone that asks for it. So let's talk about, okay, Real Scout, we did. Okay, we talked about expired listings, we talked about door knocking. Online leads, this is anyone that pays for leads. Never give, so one of the things that I have is never give up on that lead. And even though you think it's a buyer's lead, it can be a combo. You know, what's a combo?
They're selling and then buying.
Yes. And we've done a considerable amount of those where it's, yeah, I'm looking to buy, but hey, I don't know if you could help me, but I have a listing. Oh, sure, why not? We'll help you sell that listing.
I have another question. This is something I'm struggling with right now. I have a buyer that doesn't want to put their home on the market until they find something. Like, how is that conversation go with you?
So I have a scenario that I'm gonna give you. We had a buyer in the same situation that had to sell a house in Sacramento. And what we said was, we really want you to get all your ducks in a row. So what does that mean? Well, we want you to get pre-approved before that time. Because interest rates change all the time. Right now, they're actually good, but I want you to talk to a lender that's a professional that can give you more information than I will be able to. And they talk to the buyers, and the buyers are like, yeah, I guess we need to speed up the process a little bit further. And I say, well, here's how I protect you so you're not homeless. We'll put your house on the market. We'll find a buyer that'll give you some time to move out. And it's contingent on you finding a replacement property. So this one in Sacramento that we have in contract, here's what we negotiated. We got offers well above asking. The buyer has given our seller 29 days to move out after they find a replacement property. Now, that sounds a lot nicer than I need to find a house because I need to put mine on the market right away and rush the whole process. Or do you want to plan it all out that works for you? So our sellers feel a lot less stressed now that they know, okay, well, escrow doesn't start until we find a replacement property. And then once we find it, we're not going to be rushed to move out because we have 29 days after we close. So we can literally take our time. Well, we can have almost, we do 29 days because if you do 30 days, it becomes a rental agreement, but we can get 29 days free. Now that's a lot easier than asking once.
Free.
Yeah, that's a lot easier to ask for it up front than it is to, once you already have a house that you found and now you have to rush everything else. Right, so it's always better to do it that way and get someone else involved, get a lender involved that's going to give you information. Most lenders you talk to now are like, yeah, interest rates X amount, but a month from now, who knows what it's going to be. And I'm telling well, we're going to use the down payment assistance. Well, that money can run out. It always runs out. Every time that any type of money has been offered, I think the last time a similar program was, it lasted till October. And that was it for the whole year. So it's better to do it right away than not to do it. All right, I'm running out of time, so I'm going to take some questions. Oh, does anyone have any questions on anything we talked about? Go ahead.
So I have a seller that has 2 rentals in Stockton and he hasn't been paid for rent since COVID.
Great.
So we need to evict them because he's getting ready to sell them, but he can't sell them.
Okay, so
because
I always
he-
play devil's advocate. Why do you need to evict the tenants?
Well, how's he gonna, and he knows it's trash. There's 2 rentals in Stockton that are trashed
Okay, but why does he have to get them out?
because he can't get in there to redo the kitchen and the bathrooms and,
What if he can get an offer that made sense?
yeah.
It depends on his situation. If he has tons of money and he can wait until they're out, great. A lot of times I'll talk to sellers like, we're making my own mortgage payment. I'm making 2 other payments that I'm barely surviving here. You think that guy might sell one of those rentals so he can at least have money to wait for the other one?
So how can you list a rental though? if
All
you
the
have-
time.
And they're still living there? I mean, how could, then they would be, once they sell, then you would evict the sheriff, with the sheriff?
I've bought in
how do you do
properties,
that?
I've bought in properties that we know that we have to evict
Mhm.
the tenants.
Yeah,
We get better deals on it, obviously.
yeah.
But the buyers, as long as you tell the buyers, it's better to try. Worst case scenario, you try to sell it and you spend a month doing it and nothing happens. You didn't lose anything because it would have taken you much more time to not. So why don't you
Right.
list it and see what happens?
Right, because he's saying, well, I'd rather have somebody in there, because it's not in a great area,
Sure,
than an empty house. I'd
yeah.
rather have.
There's
not
investors that'll
being-
pick up,
Yeah.
you're just gonna get investor prices for it.
Okay.
If he's okay with one of them, great. But if he has tons of cash, he owns 50 rental properties.
He's got a few, but.
Yeah, it depends on that seller's financial position. if he wants to sell one of them and see what happens, right? Because there's investors that'll buy it all day long. I just saw one that had multiple offers and there was a tenant inside that wasn't proper. Right? Then they would have to give the notice and everything. You can't get inside to see it. The buyer takes more risk, but they're going to get a great deal.
Okay,
But you should at least give them that option.
yeah, I'm seeing them tomorrow.
I've had scenarios where the agent, we have to be great problem solvers. If you don't solve their problem, they're gonna go to someone else that has that same idea. So I had a property that one of my wife's friends, they want to sell their house, but they didn't want to move out until they found a property. But they wanted to find a house first. So for this scenario, we're doing a bridge loan. You guys are familiar with the bridge loan? Beth, you want to describe what a bridge loan is?
Basically, it goes in and allows them to get finance for their property without being from selling their house. But then they will have like a certain amount of time, you know, if they close prior to get their house.
So how many people have done bridge loans, sales? It's one of the most, when you're doing a bridge loan, it's usually a very expensive property. It's usually sellers that are very strong. So in my circumstance, we're looking for them for a house for 1.4. They're going to sell their house for 1.8. So if I didn't,
There's a new system coming out, or a new loan coming out too, that makes it a little bit easier.
so I'm using it through HomeLight, and HomeLight has a program like this for them. And lenders have access to that loan. It's not just HomeLight specifically. Any lender can use that HomeLight program. So you're giving them option to buy a house first, move into it, and then they have time to sell their house.
Yeah, and usually the Nevis, I think that is talking about, usually you have to qualify for both houses, but the Nevis team said it was about a program where you now only have to qualify for the house that you're buying.
That's right.
Yeah.
So that's pretty good.
They don't have access to it. They want to do it.
Right, it could be online.
Yeah, it's through HomeLight. Actually, I'm working with, I think I was the one that gave her the first program. If we don't come up with solutions for our sellers, someone else is going to come up with that, right? The common one is either the tenants, right? Should you know a good attorney to help them guide through? Yes, you should know eviction attorneys. That comes up quite a bit. Should you know? A lot of times, if they're worried about a roof, they know the roof is not good. What do we do? Well, we get a roofer up there to give us a quote, right? We want to have that in front and not wait for it, right? We need to come up with solutions for the sellers because that's basically what we do. So let me talk about one more thing. I think everything goes down to like helping whatever the pain of a seller is helping fix that. So if their worry is that they're going to move across the state and they have to sell a house now, how do we help them with that pain? Well, we can focus on the listing side of it. I always have on my higher deals. So let's say I have a $800,000 deal. I'll have a budget of about $500. That's my miscellaneous budget. I don't ask the seller for a crap on that. So if I need a house clean, that's one of them, right? If it's a really dirty house, then it might be up to $600 for that house to be cleaned. If it's something where the doors need to be painted without asking for money from the sellers, I'll be like, hey, do you mind if I get one of my contractors to paint the front door? I think it'd make a big difference. So I always have a little, I guess, a slush fund about $500 to $1,000 depending on the listing price. All things I'll do automatically to make sure I make it as easy as possible myself. All right, yeah, any other questions?
What do you think about staging, and do you ever bring that up to your sellers?
So if the house is vacant, I want to stage it like 100% of the time.
And is that something your sellers pay for?
I will get them to pay for it. Now, if it depends on the price of the house. If it's $300,000 house, I'll ask them to pay for it. If it's a $1.4 million house, then I'm going to pay for it. I'll ask them if they want to pay for it, but if it's something that they don't want to do, I think it's gonna make a big difference, I'll pay for that staging. I think, so statistics show that staging always improves the sale of a house, every time. And it's a lot more comfortable, you get this, I think, my whole opinion on staging is if it's gonna make a difference, you stage it. Because, you know, the average staging in our area is like $1,800 a month. I'm sorry, 1,800 for the stage. Are you gonna get double that in value? Of course. Yeah, I got someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I use a staging studio, or like right here next to our office. She's really good. And she's not like, if the listing takes longer to sell, she's not on you about it, like other stages I've seen. Yeah, she has a lot of stuff, so she doesn't care if it's out longer. I've had things that were a couple months out because just that time of the market. And she was great about that. Yeah. Yeah, so I recommend staging, especially if the house is vacant. It's hard to stage when people are living there, so you have to make sure, I would say, nothing on the countertops, the kitchen, bathroom, the areas you want to focus the most on. And then no family photos. People want to imagine. Yeah, no family photos. People want to imagine their own families there. It's like, yeah, people have this mindset that you're like uprooting a family when they see all the photos.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're walking through somebody's house.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not theirs.
Do you ever have a listing where there's, the last listing I had 1 million family photos, so I'm glad that you brought that up, because I'm like, you know, I don't want to create more work for them because they're older, but I did get them to stage, not stage, but clear all the stuff and put it in the garage.
So let me give you a story that I had. Does everyone remember like Demi Moore? Demi Moore did this famous pregnancy photo, right? It was like she was literally naked and she was covering her boobs. And it was a famous photo. Well, I had a seller that had one of those type of photos, and it was a giant picture. So I go to the house, I'm like, we got to take down all the family photos. And this house was listed before, and that agent didn't think about that at all. So the seller was telling me that, oh, she had people that came in for 2 minutes and then left. And they're like, why? Because she doesn't care. So like, what happened? What do they hate about our house? It couldn't have been the photos. Family photos, like the people that get paid the most money to stage are for new home builders. Have you ever seen photos at new home builders? No, right?
Photos.
I'm sorry,
Models.
family photos.
Oh, okay, yeah.
You ever seen family photos? They could have had models do it. They don't do that, right? You want to stage like a new home builder stages. The other little tip that I always do is anytime I have a fridge in a vacant house, I have a fridge, I always put waters there. And I usually put a sign that says, grab a water. People love that. It goes a long way. That $3 I spent for a case of water just goes a long way.
Very hospitable.
Yeah. All right, well, hey, thank you guys for your time. If you have any other questions, now is the time. If not, hopefully I gave you guys some value. Thank you.
So I think at least once a quarter, wouldn't you? Is that guaranteed just once a quarter? Kind of